to get started. Anybody who's late, it's their fault. I'm expecting, and we're going to expect to start on time too. So. All right, if you guys will join me in prayer. Heavenly Father, we just worship you, God. We just thank you that where we are, you're in our midst, God. And I know that that is something that we take all too lightly. God, I thank you that we're here to worship. I thank you that we're here to gather. We're here to lift your name high. I thank you that I'm not going to prison because I said your name. I thank you that I'm well enough that I got to eat today, God. I thank you for the things that you've blessed us with that we may take for granted just because we have them and we have them easily. And so, Lord, I thank you for all the many blessings. I thank you more than anything for your grace, for your mercy, for your faithfulness, God. And I pray that we will worship you from a heart of gratitude tonight. That we will worship you in the middle of our circumstance, whatever it may be, whether we've seen the mountaintop today or whether we've been walking in the valley. God, I just pray that you will help us to focus on you, not be distracted, and that we'll just turn our eyes to you, God, that we'll turn our hearts to you, and that you'll meet us where we're at and change not only our circumstance, if you want, but more than anything to change us in the midst of our circumstances. The process, God, the process that we walk through, and I thank you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Let's all stand. I'm sorry, that's not the right song. Let's try this one. Let's try King of My Heart. Let's sing this.
great experience or a bad experience, but I heard this quote this week and I want to share it with you. And it says that it's from God. It says, "They haven't rejected you. I just hid your value from them because they are not assigned to your destiny." Okay, so when you go through things, you may not feel like God is good. Like, hey, this doesn't feel like a good situation. I don't know how a good father would allow me to go through this, but just know and trust that He is in control. And the things that are no's for a very perfect reason. And so, I don't know about you guys. I heard you were worshipers at camp, and I see the back worshiping more than the front. So you guys are going to have to get into it a little bit, all right? All right. So I want you to sing this out.
You're never gonna let me down.
Do you believe that?
You're never gonna let me down. You're never gonna let One with God, Lord Most High. Your hidden glory in creation, now revealed in you are Christ. What a beautiful name it is. What a beautiful name it
about the Lord. And forget about our jobs, forget about school, forget about other things, and just think on Him. We'll sing that chorus that says, what a powerful name.
What a powerful name it is. What a powerful name it is. The name of Jesus Christ, my King. What a powerful name it is. Nothing can stand against. What a powerful name it is. The name of Jesus. What a powerful name it is. The name of Jesus.
God, we love you and we thank you, God. And I know you're working, and you're working things out. You're working things for your great name, for your fame, for your honor, for your glory, God. You're pulling people out of the mud, God, and bringing them into the light, God, and bringing people out of the darkness, Lord. Lord, you're setting people free, and you're healing us even as we speak, God. And I just believe, God, that if we would just commit our hearts to you, we would be amazed at what's still available to us that we haven't even touched the surface of yet, God. That if we'll submit our lives to you and our calling to you and our very breath to you, you will carry us through any storm to bring us into bright daylight, God, to experience the love of God, to experience the mercy of God. And I just don't believe there's anywhere we can go where you're not, God. So Lord, we give you the glory, give you the praise and the honor. I ask you to be with the kids ministry, and I ask you to be with the youth, and I ask you to be here tonight, God, and show us your glory. In your name I pray. Amen. Adults, you can be seated. Students and kids, you can be dismissed. All right. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, see it, Chuck. Yeah, it is. Good thing. No, I didn't know tonight. You know, we've been off for a month. I was like, we're either, I told Dad, he was carrying me home today. And I said, we're either going to have nobody, or we'll have a pretty decent crowd. And it was pretty decent across here tonight. I'm glad that you decided to come out and experience. Glad the kids are back in action. I know that a lot of people have been busy with school starting. For us, it starts tomorrow. So Elijah will be kicking that off tomorrow, but I know everybody else has been there, some 3 days, some 2 days, and full on out. But I want to talk tonight about kind of getting back to the basics, and I want to start with this video. If Chris will show this first video that I got tonight, I want you to see this and see what you think.
Everyone in the Bible sick that Jesus touched got healed. But she touched Jesus and she got made whole. When he's got to come to you, you'll get your miracle. But when you pursue him, he'll fix it all. I should in on that right there. That's about as good as it's going to get. Anybody want to pursue him today? I'm not going to make him chase me. I'm going to turn around. And I'm going to chase my God back. Because the God chasers are the ones. He fixes your mind, fix your body, fix your home, fix your house, fix your money. When you chase him, he will make you.
Is that good? Man. You think about it, and I've read both of those passages multiple times, and then I heard that, and it's just like a bomb dropped on me this week. I was thinking about it. See, there are going to be times that he comes to where we are, and he brings healing, and he blesses us with his presence. And I'm thankful for those times, because there's times I don't realize that I even need it, and he shows up. Amen? But I love to go to my children and to see them and like just to love on them. You know, just go into where they are, where the Hosanna's playing in their room, where Elijah's doing what he does, and, you know, screaming at his TV, playing Fortnite, all those fun things. I like to go where they are. But there are going to be times that we need to track Jesus down in the crowd. You know, they was talking about the woman with the issue of blood. You know, she pressed through the crowd. She didn't want to disturb him, but she wanted to touch him. Because she knew that anything that she needed was going to be right there. And so there's going to be times you have to push through the crowd. Or maybe we could, maybe we could get into a Sunday service and kind of just be like Jacob, where he grabs on to the angel, and he says, you know what, I'm just not going to let you go till you bless me. See, there's a difference in our motives. There's a difference in our way of attack. Jesus coming to me, yes, I'm thankful that he does. But man, don't you like it so much more when somebody will pursue you? I love to go to my kids, yes, and love on them, but I really love it when they come to me and love on me. Because then I know the motives of their heart. You know what I'm saying? There's a difference in motive. Like when I go to my kids, they're great. Well, thanks, Dad. We love you a lot. But when they come to me and they're ready to pour on the love, and it's like, you know what? My kids really love me. They really care about me. And I wonder if God's just like that. He's saying, why don't you pursue me a little bit? Instead of just coming to Sunday service and sitting back and being chill and, enjoying the show, what if you really came and you said, you know what? I've been worshiping at home, God, and I'm going to come into church and I'm going to worship you too. And when, it's funny because when I worship you here and I start getting passionate about you, other people see it and they catch on because it's like a fire. It's just a blaze that keeps burning and people keep catching it. And all of a sudden, what happens? Revivals are born that way. When people are seeking at home and it spills over into the church. Oh, man. I think that we're too quick to look over verses as we read them. I want to show you an example here. Chris, you may have to push that forward, but it's Matthew 5:6. And this is what it says. It says, blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be filled. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be filled. And if you look at all of the Beatitudes, you can see that. But it says, there's bunches and bunches. Blessed are those who mourn. Blessed are those who I don't even remember. But blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be filled. And I thought about this. In America, how often do we ever really hunger and thirst? How often are you really, I don't mean, hey, I missed lunch. I mean like hunger. Like it wakes you from your sleep. They say that's when lions feed. That lions look really lazy in the daytime. They just lay around in the dust. They sling the dust up on their back. And it says at night, though, as they sleep, all of a sudden their hunger awakens them. And they pursue what they need to be filled. See, I don't know that we're ever really hungry. We say that we love the Lord, but I don't know that we hunger and thirst for righteousness. There's a difference in this, guys. There's a difference in the motive here. I want to show you one more video. Chris, go play this next video. This is some people in China, and they're receiving Bibles for the first time. When we get in here on Sunday morning, how hungry are we? How hungry home to just experience the show again. You know what? I found out if we're not careful, we will spend our time maintaining the boat instead of casting the nets. Okay, maintaining the boat instead of casting the nets. It's nice to have a pretty church. It's nice to keep the painting nice. It's nice to vacuum the floors. It's nice to come here and be together in the air conditioning. And we'll maintain the boat. And we'll quit casting the nets, which is what the boat was made for. You know, casting the nets, we got to be doing so. We got to be sharing our faith. You know, we got to go out to the places. You know, boat is no good sitting in the harbor. It has to go out into the deep. And when it goes out into the deep, then it is actually living its best life. It is actually being used for what it was created for. And the church is not meant to sit still. It's meant to move to the deep waters and to cast the nets. Casting the nets takes planning. It takes preparation. It takes hard work. Outreach projects and things like that. They're not easy like when you say, we're going to take a group and we're going to go over here and we're going to do this. There's a lot of T's to cross, and a lot of I's to dot, and a lot of things to figure out. You know, casting the net takes time. When we did our Bible giveaway a little over a year ago, it took time. It took people. It took resources. But you know what? If we're not going to cast the net, we shouldn't even own the boat. You know, if we just come to church, but we don't have any attempt to carry it to where we're going. See, we spend our life looking at our phones, living through other people's highlights instead of creating our own highlights. I'm seeing your best moments. And so I would ask this, is why does much of our life drive us and Jesus oftentimes gets the back seat? And I've just been thinking about these things myself. Tonight is just back to basics. We're just talking about loving God and loving people. See, we'll get to our Bible when we have time. Or we'll read it before we go to bed if we're not too tired. Why can't our day be like this? I'm going to read my Bible and then whatever else. I'm going to spend time with the Lord and then whatever else. Before I even get out of my bed, I've been doing this first 30 minutes of the day. And I've done that like 99% of this year. I'll say there's probably been 2 or 3 days that it ended up being later in the day that I did. But I do the first 30 minutes of the day, and literally I don't even get out of my bed. I get my Bible, or I actually get my phone, and I read my Bible on my phone. And a lot of you see, you kind of know when I'm up reading, because you'll see some of the things I do in the Bible app. But I spend my first 30 minutes a day because you know what? It needs to be a priority. And if he is the main thing, then the main thing deserves the top place on the schedule, not the leftovers at the end of the day. But why can't we, instead of planning our day and then the Bible just falls wherever it falls, why can't instead we plan our Bible and then the day falls wherever it falls? Because if we don't have enough time for our Bible, if we don't have enough time for our study with God or looking into the Lord, if we don't have enough time, then you know what? We're too busy. And you know what we're doing? We're making idols. Because anything that's above him is an idol. Now, I wonder this. What power could we have, or what blessing could we experience from time with God? Now, I'll show you this. This thing's not going to work tonight, is it, Chris? I have to play the videos. Anyway, Revelation chapter 3, verse 15, it says, I know your deeds, that you're neither hot or neither cold nor hot. I wish you were either one or the other. So because you are lukewarm, neither hot nor cold, I'm about to spit you out of my mouth. And this is God himself talking. He says, look, you might look the part, but you're not the part. Yeah, you might look the part, but you're not the part. It may seem like church is good. It may seem like everything's all right, but where are the seekers at? Where are the people who was preparing before they came to church? Where's the people who were praying before they arrived here on campus? Where are the people who were seeking God at night, late at night, or by the light of their phone, or by the light of their Bible? I used to read my Bible with a flashlight at night while we were in the bed. Me and April was first married. It was just a good time for me to read it like we did. I didn't have a cell phone at that time. Imagine that. But I just read my Bible with a little flashlight. And I read through a lot of the Old Testament that way, and that was just the way I did it at that time. And not that I was some great scholar. I was just trying to get as much as I could. And I don't want to be guilty of knowing how to do church well, and I know how to do church well. I come from a good church. church, and then I've been here, and I know how to do church well, but you know what? I don't want to sacrifice spirituality for commonality. Okay? This church don't look like every other church. Well, thank God. You know? That's kind of the way I would rather it be than why don't y'all do Sunday school? I've been asked that. Well, why don't y'all do this? I've got, number one, I ain't got room to do it. There's about 4 or 5 classrooms around here. But people ask me like that, and I'm like, you know what? If Sunday school is not bringing the Holy Spirit, then I don't want it. You know what? If we're not careful, we're going to get easily distracted. And it's so easy to get to serve in the church that you forget the most important thing is loving Jesus and loving one another. Look, Matthew 22, 36, 37. Teacher, which is the greatest commandment in the law? Jesus replied, love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind. This is the first and greatest commandment. And the second is like it, love your neighbor as yourself. All the laws and the prophets hang on these 2 commands. So if I told you, and this is not a rule in my house, and you'd know if you've been there. If I told you, though, the greatest commandment in my house is to remove your shoes before you come in. If I said, every time you come to my house, I expect you to remove your shoes before you come in. You better take them off because we can get the floors dirty. You know what? If you didn't get anything else right, you would work to get that one right. If if your mama said, hey, I'm going to slap you every time you come in with them shoes on, you know what? You would realize then, hey, this is the greatest commandment in her house, and I'm going to follow that commandment. Then why is it that we're not very good at loving the Lord our God with all our heart, soul, and our mind? We're good at other things. Oh, Lord, I attend church 3 times a week. I do this, I do that. I'm a member of this committee, or I serve in this way, and I lead the prayer. And he doesn't say any of that. He says, love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind. And then he says, remember as yourself. So there's 2 things here that I'm supposed to get right. I'm supposed to love the Lord with everything that I have. And you know what? When I love the Lord with everything I have, everything else falls in line. He says the second commandment is like it, but really the second commandment will take care of the first if you'll do it. I think sometimes, even for me, it's easy to miss what God is wanting to do because we're creatures of habit. So we come to this building to go through our normally scheduled event. But if we want change, our preparation has to change. If you want change, because everybody, I've heard for years, everybody wants revival. Everybody wants revival. That's like saying everybody wants money. Every Christian says they want revival. But you know what? Everybody wants money, but everybody doesn't have it. Why? Because everybody hasn't prepared to get it. Everybody wants revival, but everybody doesn't have it because everybody hasn't prepared to get it. You say, I want the Lord, I want His presence, but I've got to prepare if I want it. See, at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter if I'm giving a great message or not. What matters at the end of Sunday is if God showed up or not. And that's really how we balance, hey, it was a good Sunday or a bad Sunday. I could have the greatest topic, man. I could preach something that would make Billy Graham cry. But you know what? If God doesn't show up, it ain't going to matter. And I'd rather be where He wants me to be, fumbling over my words, than deep off in something that stirred you intellectually but did nothing for you spiritually. We need moments where we're quiet and we wait. We need unscripted moments. We need moments full of surrender, and we need secrets. See, that's what the church needs, because the community needs Christians, and they ain't anything. All right. So, how can we have more holy moments in our service as we worship? Anybody got any ideas? How can we have more holy moments in our service? I know that's kind of a baited answer a little bit. I mean, I've experienced moments where God moved when somebody testified. When somebody told about God brought through something or what God has blessed in their life. I think we can do that some more. You know, it takes people to actually testify and say, hey, I want to brag on what God's doing. We used to say all the time, I want to give the devil a black eye, that kind of thing, you know. That's that whole stuff. But we'd say, you know, we want to get fired up. You know, tell us something that God's been doing. Brag on the Lord. And it was like when people would start, one would start, two would start, this one, this one, this. And next thing you know, people were just testifying all over the place. And you got this feeling that, you know what, this God that we serve is actually real. When we don't testify about what He's doing, when we don't have any stories to tell of how He's been awesome in our life, you know what it does? It weakens Him to everybody that's listening that wants to know who He is. How about this? What would break the cycle of come, listen, leave, repeat. Come, listen, leave, repeat. Come, listen, leave, repeat. What would break that cycle in any American church? We can say that. What's that? Yeah. I mean, like, if it's just the same old, that's not what I want to be, right? But I'm thinking more along the lines of, like, what we would do beforehand so that when we got here, it wouldn't just be come listen, leave, repeat. Come listen, leave, repeat. I think that there's so much that can happen beforehand. There's so many things that are great. Like, I used to put on a lot of concerts and a lot of events, and there was so much work that went before the actual event, so the actual event was like, it was awesome. You know, it just clicked on all cylinders. Everything was running in every direction. And you had things that looked spontaneous, yet they were planned. You know? And what I would say is when we prepare for our moments together, they should be great celebrations of things that have already happened in the week prior. Maybe at times it would be good to share more than our success, but to share our struggles. You know, it'd be nice if people that came in here and were new to Christianity, if they actually looked at us and said, you know what, that guy, he doesn't have it all together. And it's okay. It's okay. It's okay to struggle. If somebody, you know, in a men's group, when we had our men's thing, you know, we shared our struggles more than our successes. We said, you know what, this is difficult for me. This is hard at this point in life. I'm struggling to find time for the Lord. I'm struggling to be the man that I need to be for my family. There's things that are difficult about this. And you know what? When we do that, we actually get strength from one another. Because Cater may say something like, well, man, when I went through that, I had the same thing. And then all of a sudden, God came in. And I made it through it. I didn't think I was going to, but I did. And when we share our struggles with one another, it strengthens the body. My other question for this, how can you influence where you are? Well, number one, the only place you can influence is where you are. So, in your day, think about wherever you are day to day. Cater, where do you spend most of your day? Working at other people's houses. And what do you do when you're at those people's houses? You work, but you talk to the people that you work for. Yeah, you talk to them, and you have a chance what to share with them a lot of times. He can influence where he is. He does plumbing. Somebody says, oh, I can't do nothing. I'm just a plumber. Well, Cater is a plumber that's won a lot of people for the Lord. You know, wherever you are, like me, in my job, I work in a plant where, and I work with computers, but there's like 150 people there, and I have to interact with them throughout the day. I can be influential to them where I am, because you know what? I'm going to spend way more time there, number one, than at home, and number two, than here. So you know what? God has actually put me, if I was going to say, where is my field that I'm working right now, I would say the field that the Lord has for me is there. And you must think that I need to be there. How about this? What do you think revival would look like here? What would revival look like here? There should be a lot of answers on this one. No, what would revival look like? Yeah, I understand. So revival, somebody, what does revival look like, period?
I think everybody's like people's lives will really change. A lot, people my age, when you hear revival, you think of a preacher coming to the church, and you have preach for 5 days at the church, and everybody just 5 days. That's really not revival. It's good preaching, and it's a good time usually, but revival is people's lives. Towards the Lord.
Yeah, when we start seeing people lost who are coming in and they're just accepting the Lord, and people, families are getting brought together and things are coming together, then we can say, hey, the Lord has been here. The Lord has been here. All right, let me ask this question, and maybe it may be something that you want to write down, but what part could you play in ushering in revival? Prayer. Prayer is one of them. You could be praying at home. You could be fasting at home. You could be getting your own house in order. See, if revival is going to come to the masses have to get serious about them. And I think a lot of times we'll sit back and we'll relax and we'll go on cruise control and we won't be as hot as we once were, and we'll be like, man, I just don't feel like I'm as close to the Lord as I used to be. I don't feel like, and I'm like, well, are you doing the things that you used to do when you loved Him the most, when you experienced Him the most? And sometimes you may say, yeah, I am, and He may say, it's just a time for silence. But what I'm saying is there's a preparation to this thing. I'm getting somewhere with this, guys. If we were to begin a preparation for revival here, what would that preparation look like? I know that when we have certain events, sometimes we'll say, well, we're going to fast for one meal this week. Somebody's going to fast for more. Somebody's going to do something. What do you really think that preparation for revival looks like? Right. I mean, if, like for me, I know, like if somebody said, man, we're going to prepare for revival, number one, I'm going to start taking a deep, hard look at my own life. I'm going to start looking deep. I'm going to start scraping down the bottom. I'm going to limit myself to some things. There may be some shows that I was watching, not saying they're bad shows, but maybe they're just not good shows. There may be movies that we say, you know what, during this time, it's going to be G movies in our house, and we're going to try to just push everything out of here. That's pretty much all in our house anyway. We're just going to push these things out of here, and we're just going to focus it. Maybe if I'm not saying there's anything wrong with this, but maybe if I'm listening to secular music, I don't listen to it for that period of time. I'm not saying that all secular music is bad. I'm just saying maybe I just limit myself so that he has the opportunity to move more. Maybe I'm very adamant about my Bible study. Maybe I get in a certain book. But there's just things that, so when I get here, that it's just like a ground that needs to be dug up and just prepared for planting. I want to be prepared to receive and prepared to deliver whatever God is about to bring. And so I think we need to be thinking about, like, what does preparation for revival look like? Or maybe if we simply said, we want to see more power in our services, what would that look like? Everybody wants to see more power. I know I do. Like, I hear all these great stories of revival because they had great moments of power when people were healed instantly, where they laid hands on people and they prayed for them, and where people who was totally lost come to know the Lord, they're like, everybody's never expecting them. I'm talking about one of those days where the guy walks in the back and nobody expects to see him. And he ends up down here, and he's crying out to the Lord, he's crying out for forgiveness, and families are coming back together that have been broken. I'm talking about, what would we do, or what price would we pay to see more power? Because I think it's all in the preparation. It's like, what's that?
That's just so sad. I think you respond to the word. You respond to the word that's been given.
Yeah, I believe there's going to have to be a new hunger. So how can we get hungry together? And some of us do some of these things, and we share videos and things that like the one I showed tonight with Ron Carper. I'll just pass that video on somebody, hoping that it'll stir somebody the way it stirred me. Or I'll pass on a Bible verse that I'm reading, or I'll pass on a scripture that I've been thinking on, and we'll pass those things around. And what it does is it stirs that hunger. It's like a little taste of something. You ever been real hungry and had just a little taste of something? You're like, man, I really want a lot of that. That's what it'll do for you when we start sharing with one another. But how can we get more serious with God each week? Because let me tell you, I know some situations that need the power of God right now. I really do. I know some situations that are pretty bad. Situations that don't need the knowledge of math, they need the hand of the healer. I'll be honest, when people come to me and they have these difficult things and struggles in their life and things that are really just bigger than me, all I can do is the same thing you can do. I can just pray. I can go and I can seek out wise counsel, and I'll do that. But you know what? I just pray, and I just got to pray and believe, pray and believe, pray and believe, pray and believe, so that we can awaken that hunger. Now, this is a real and open discussion about what it looks like to become a church that is really seeking the Lord, a church that's stopping their day to pray, fast, and reach the world around them. That's what we need to have in our mind. Because all of you here, many of you here are actually members of this church. And so I would say that you have a stocking, and anybody really who comes here regular, I would say that you have a stocking. What happens, because you know what? We need everybody to be unified in our vision and unified in our mind. And we all need to have the idea of, like, you know what? I'm not coming just to church to see something. I'm coming to church to be part of something. You know what I'm saying? There has to be some real hunger, some real want. If not, we're just wasting our time. Church is not built around a service plan. It's actually built around a holy God. And so we need to account for everything we do here. Now, this verse hit me pretty hard because we don't like these people, these Pharisees. But look, it says, "This is why I tell you that unless your righteousness surpasses that of the Pharisee and the teachers of the law, you will certainly not enter the kingdom of heaven." And I'm telling you, there are lukewarm services Sunday people who are not really seeking the Lord, who are just going through the motions. And it's like the Pharisees who are just like, we're all about the law. We're so much about the law that we have no relationship with the Lord, and we're just doing what we always do. And you can tell because if you were to go up in there and you were to interrupt their plan for that day, it would cause havoc. It would cause chaos. If you were to say, hey, we're not going to do it this way today, they'd be like, who are you to tell me that we're not going to do it today? But what I'm saying is, it says that if we can't get above the Pharisees, that we have no chance of entering heaven. And I look at that and I say, oh man, so structure is not enough. Relationship is really what matters. And relationship with God, what it does is it places you in step for him to use you. Now, let's dig a little into Scripture here. 1 Samuel 13, 13 and 14. This is Samuel, and he's talking to Saul, the first king of Israel. And this is what he says. He says, you've done a foolish thing. You have not kept the command the Lord your God gave you. If you had, he would establish your kingdom over Israel for all time. But now your kingdom will not endure. The Lord has sought a man after his own heart and appointed him ruler of his people, because you have not kept the Lord's command. It says that God is seeking people after his own heart. You know, when God appointed Saul, he appointed somebody that looked like a king. And then when he appointed David, he appointed somebody that acted like a king. And there's a big difference. Where their heart was. If you compare them side by side, they're two totally different people. They're both passionate people, but Saul is more passionate about himself, and David's passionate about the Lord. You know, David never set out to be a king. He never set out to be anything special. He was just keeping the sheep for his father. And then God brought Samuel to his house and anointed him as king. And from that moment on, he was marked. But he was a man after God's own heart. Now, what I love is that David had skills. Didn't he? David had skills. When he was out there keeping sheep, he killed a lion and he killed a bear. I don't know about you. I haven't ever done that. Especially without a sling and a rock. Never happened. But it wasn't his skills that paved his way to promotion. It was his heart. God didn't care that he could sling a rock. Sure, he used it for his glory. I mean, he used it to bring down Goliath. But what he used it for, what he really wanted was the heart. The heart is the motivator of the mind. Think about this in your life. The heart is the motivator of the mind. It is. What's in here will control what you do here. And what's in here will control what you do with your body, which you live out. Okay, so I love my wife. Yes, I love my wife. I see that, so I serve her. The heart is the motivator of the mind, but the mind moves the feet. And this is what happens. So if God is the king of my heart, then my mind is going to be led by him, and my body will move with his purpose. I may not even know the destination, but I'll end up where he takes me. Because my heart is the motivator of my mind, and my mind moves me forward. And God is looking for the person with the most skills. He's looking for the person with a passionate heart. You look through the Bible all the time. He's picking the underdog. He's picking the people that nobody matters. He says, okay, I need 12 men to follow me, to go to the cross with me. I need 12 men that I can pour my life into. And so he goes off into the temple and he picks the greatest Bible scholars of all time. No, he doesn't do that. He goes and picks the fisherman. The guy that's over here just cut himself on his boat and cussed him. He picked the guy that's, the guy that's over here that's stealing people's money at the tax collector's table. And he goes over here and gets this guy, and he gets this guy, and he gets this guy. These are just common, average people. It tells us all in Acts about how these were just ordinary men. The average Joe. And for us guys who are average, we love it. I'm average height, maybe even below average. I tell you, I was a very average student. And God loves to use average people. Even years later, after David is finally appointed king, you still see his zealousness for the Lord. He stoked this fire of his relationship even more, and he is not moved by the ceremonies. He's actually propelled by the presence of the Lord. We could actually all learn something here about not caring what others think. Let me show you. 2 Samuel 6:16. And as the ark of the Lord was entering the city of David, Michal, daughter of Saul, watched from a window, and when she saw King David leaping and dancing before the Lord, she despised him in her heart. Now this is Saul's daughter. She's David's wife. And he's brought the ark back. You remember when we talked about Hophni and Phinehas a while back, and they took the ark out into the war, and it got taken away and it got robbed? Well, David goes out and gets it back. That's who David is. He goes and gets it back, and he brings it back to Israel. And when he brings it back, he's so excited. I mean, like, they were literally walking would sacrifice another animal. Like, I mean, it's like it's a very short distance. Notice how many animals they sacrifice before God. And it's literally David strips down basically to his underwear, and he's dancing out in front of him, and he's getting fired up, and he's excited about what God's doing. And Michal, in her heart, she doesn't understand David's zealousness, not for the ark, but for the Lord. And she despises him. Now let's look a little further down here. Verse 20, when David returned home to bless his household, Michal, daughter of Saul, came out to meet him and said, how the king of Israel has distinguished himself today, going around half naked in full view of the slave girls of his servants, as any vulgar fellow would. David said to Michal, it was before the Lord who chose me rather than your father. And that's a burn right there. I'm sorry, guys. He was swinging for the fences when he did it. He said, hey, you picked me, not your dad. And he said, or anyone from his house, when he appointed me ruler over the Lord's people Israel, I will celebrate before the Lord. And you know what? I love this verse. I will become even more undignified than this. I will be humiliated in my own eyes, but by these slave girls you spoke of, I will be held in honor. He says, you know what? If you think this is crazy, just hold on. Because this is going to get really wild. Before the Lord, I'm going to dance, I'm going to sing, I'm going to get out here, I'm going to go crazy. He's been good to me. He's brought his presence back into Israel. He's given me favor after battle after battle. You know what? If you think that's crazy, Michal, you just hang on for the ride, because this is going to get even wilder. I would absolutely love to be in a church full of that kind of people. Not no snake handler now. I'm not down for that. But what I am saying, I don't want snakes. Don't get me wrong. Y'all bring snakes in here, y'all have to be pastor. But what I'm saying is people that are so zealous for the Lord that say, you know what, man, I don't care if you don't like it. I love him so much. You can't keep me from him. There's nowhere I will not go. There's nothing I will not do because I am zealous for him. David was not waiting for a group of people to agree with him for him to make boast of his God. He said, I'll become even more undignified than this. He's not waiting because his zealousness for the Lord is not based on happenings. It's not based on how others respond to the Lord. His joy and honor for the Lord are birthed deep in him from the personal relationship he has with the Lord. It's just inside of him. Whatever you pour in will come out. Whatever you pour in will come out. If I eat that word up, that word can come out. If I eat that pray up, if I just pray, you know what? It's going to come out. That's why if you eat up them cuss words, they just come out when you do things. People they spit them. If you eat up that dirty movies, that dirty talk, all that stuff, all that dirty jokes, you know what happens when you least expect it? It just pours out of you. Why? Because whatever's on the inside comes on the outside. And it doesn't take you long to know how people are because it just happens. It's just a natural thing. You can be around them in just a little while, hopefully for a little while, but eventually they'll open their mouth and out will come who they are. Character is revealed. And so David says, you know what? I'm going to get even more crazy than this. You know what? Our praise also connects us with his presence. Our praise connects us with his presence. And I'm on the third base running home here, guys, so y'all just hang on tight and I'll get there. Our praise connects us with his presence. Paul and Silas are in the middle of the jail. Like, they're so far in the middle, like there's all kind of things around them. And then they're chained to guards in the middle. Because they don't want them to get away. So they're chained up in the middle of the prison. And Paul and Silas start worshiping. But they did not worship with the knowledge or anticipation that God was going to deliver them from their captivity or destroy what was detaining them. That was not the reason they worshiped. When they were in the middle of the prison, they didn't start praising because God said, praise me and I'll take the chains off. He didn't say, praise me and I'll kill all the guards and knock down all the walls. No, they simply had a relationship that beckoned them when they had a moment when they were persecuted for Jesus that they began to pour out their heart to him. And it's funny because when they did, they simply poured out their hearts in love to the Lord, and when they did, the power came. So we say, well, how can we get more power in our services? Well, we can start worshiping with our whole heart. We can give everything we got. The guy that spoke at these brothers, he said, you know what? You don't have to like every song. Doesn't matter. There doesn't even have to be a song. I found that when I love him and when I will work to connect with him and work to praise him and work to lift him up no matter what's going on. I've been in a lot of services where I didn't like the songs. I mean, I've been all over the place. I've been a little backwoods which moves your body. So if I want to worship, and there's worship in here, guess what? Worship will come to here, and worship will come out here. And if that's not happening, then there's something that needs to start in here, not in here. And you can tell when those who are doing it here, and it's not here. You know what I'm saying? We know. Okay, let me show you this scripture. Acts 16:25. And at midnight, Paul and Silas prayed, and they sang praises unto God. And the prisoners heard them. And suddenly there was a great earthquake, so that the foundations of the prison were shaken. And immediately all the doors were opened, and everyone's bands were loosed. And the keeper of the prison, waking out of his sleep and seeing the prison doors open, he drew out his sword and would have killed himself, supposing that the prisoners had been fled. But Paul cried with a loud voice, saying, Do not do thyself no harm, for we are all here. Then he called for a light and sprang in and came trembling and fell down before Paul and Silas and brought them out and said, Sirs, what must I do to be saved? And they said, Believe on the Lord Jesus Christ, and thou shalt be saved, and thy house. And they spake unto him the words of the Lord and to all that were in his house. And he took them the same hour of the night and washed their stripes and was baptized, he and all his straightway. And when he had brought them into the house, he set meat before them and rejoiced, believing in God with all his house. You see, this is quite a redemption story. They began to praise. They're not praising so that the guards get saved. They're not praising so that the prison walls come down. They're not praising so that their wounds will quit hurting. They're simply praising out of their love for the Lord. And when they do, it changed the natural environment and it changed the supernatural environment all at the same time. How did it change the natural environment? The chains broke off and the prison walls came down. How did it change the supernatural environment? None of the prisoners left, and the guard actually gave his life to the Lord and all of his family. And then, what's funny is he who was keeping them in began to tend to their needs. And we said, that doesn't make sense. It doesn't have to. Because it's God, and that's how he works. We say, I'll never be able to do that. I'll never be able to do this. If God wants it to be done, there won't be no stopping it, whether you do it or whether somebody else does it. Praise and communication with God changed both the natural and the supernatural for Paul and Silas. Praise, prayer, and worship changed the hearts of the prisoners as the power of God was displayed. And it tore down the walls and it broke the chains they were holding down. So in order for the power to come, what has to happen is the focus has to change. Say, I want the power in our services. Change the focus. This is all that matters. You didn't. Now y'all and me. I'm just giving what he gives me. Okay? So it's not y'all and me. It's not y'all and me. We will love and worship. Y'all and me. And if we'll keep this relationship right, all this works out together. They say praise, worship is this. It's a personal yet corporate response to God for who he is and what he's done. For who he is and what he's done. So it's personal. I'm locking eyes with Jesus. It's corporate. We're all doing it at the same time. I believe this, and this is my final thing. We've been given a set amount of days. That means that I've been given a set amount of days to pastor. And you've been given a set amount of days to be part of the church body. And I wonder how many that we've wasted. And I wonder if it's had an eternal cost. I'm given so many days. I wonder if any of those days have been wasted. And if it's cost somebody eternity. I wonder if people have missed opportunities to know Jesus or know him better because we wasted a day. A day we didn't feel like seeking. A day we went through the motions instead of seeking the manifestation of his presence. It's like this. Many times we miss the mark because it's easy in church to aim at many things. If I put up 5 targets and I gave you 1 axe to throw at it, you couldn't hit all 5 targets. Too many things to aim at. So what we have to do is we have to keep the main thing the main thing. We can't have classes over here. This, that going on. get overwhelmed. When we get overwhelmed, what do? We quit. The only thing I told you that you were responsible for is to know the Lord better. Just do that. I will tell you, you will learn His Word better. You will learn all of that better because it will be something that you desire to do. We have people come and go in this church all the time. And I hate when people come and go. I want everybody to be here. But I'm not a gimmicky guy. In fact, like, hey, we're gonna burn something down this week, and you can come punch a car with a sledgehammer and go come to church. No, I want people to love Jesus. And I want to love them so much that they want me. And I want them to come hungry. And you know what I want to do when it's my turn? I want to feed them. But you know what? During the week, you got to feed yourself. I'm here to make you hungry, not to feed you. I just wanted to use tonight, kind of as we're getting back on these Wednesday nights, it's just a time to say, hey, let's just do the basics well. And we'll see God move. We'll see Him pour out. We'll see Him do things that we never expected. If we would just seek Him, that's the only thing that matters. And then what's the Bible says? It says, work out your own salvation with fear and trembling. So guess what? You're going to know the right things to do if you're seeking the right heart. Any questions before we pray? Yeah.
Speaking of fear, about the old in there, it was one of the get my sword. For the past 20 minutes, there was work back there. It's time. You know me very well, Gabriel. Y'all know me very well. I know a lot of people that I've always, like, been around very long. But he wanted me to tell my story, and for months. I want to tell you, I'm really bad at this. But I was like, man, I want to do this, but I don't know how to word it. I don't know how to word it. I kept on beating myself up, trying to write stuff down and get frustrated and everything. I took all that paperwork that I wrote down and everything, burnt it. I went and did a job with Cager, and I asked him, Cager, how about you? He said, so, I guess you thought, and I've been thinking about it the last couple of weeks, but for some reason tonight, I was told it was tough. So, my life has not been very easy at all. I'm disabled, physically impaired, got picked on a lot. Oh man, I'm shaking. But I still had to do it. People know I couldn't take it. I had good passion for it to make me feel that I know what I'm doing. I had some problems I fell down. Of course, got beaten when I was younger. I'm a dad, and I was a stepson. I didn't mean nothing to him. That's pretty much what it was. I fought through that. The day before he passed away, he had a very father son, the first time he ever called me his son. I felt the proudest man in the world because I was 25 years old. We had a very hard, growing up very much not food, it's not really a lot I can say, so I was live like it, on the street. That's how I made money on the street, whatever I did. When he finally said, I love you, son, that killed me. My drug actions got 3 times worse. I mean, I took a bottle of cocaine a day, a bottle of Jack a day. I didn't care, just trying to in my life because I finally got what I wanted from my dad. Finally got it, and then he got to it. So I lost all hope in religion and everything. I went to church till I was 15, maybe like going up because I wanted to go, but didn't feel nothing when I feel here. I met Matt at the baseball field. Hope y'all know that. And I was like, man, this is a great guy. Didn't even think about being a preacher, because he just had that preacher feel. He too much of a smiley man, and I love it. And I tell my mom this all the time. I was like, man, you're like a great friend. I was like, no, that, and talk about church and all. And I'm like, man, y'all got to come here. You got to come here. This is family. This is all it means, it's just family. And every time I'm like, I got a couple people come in, oh man, great. And then there's some like, oh man, you're just crazy, because a lot of people know me, you know, because I'm just a loud gym guy. And I am. But I just wanted to give a little bit of what I've been through.